Hi, I had someone ask me if I would do a video and share some information about Christian Light Education's first grade math program. And we did this last year with my daughter. I was very impressed with it. And so I'd like to share that. There are only two items that are mandatory for teaching first grade math. And the first item would be the teacher's manual. And actually there are two teacher's manuals for first grade Christian Light math. You've got this manual that covers lesson 101, Light Unit 101 through Light Unit 105. Then there's another teacher's manual that covers Light Unit 106 through 110. You're also going to need, of course, the light units, which are what Christian Light Education calls their workbooks. There are 10 workbooks in the first grade math program. And one great thing about Christian Light Education, if you want to, you can buy all the workbooks for the whole year. Or to make it easier, a little bit easier on your pocketbook, if you want to just buy 2 or 3 light units at a time and then buy them as you go, you can do that as well. So it's not such a hit to your pocketbook all at once. And I will say that I think the prices on Christian Light Education are excellent. But still, if you want to keep, if you want to spread the cost out over the year, it's wonderful that you can just buy as you go. So the two things that you have to have, the teacher's manuals and the light units. There are some items here that I'll show you that you don't have to teach this program, but they do talk about them in the book, but there are other ways that you could do without actually buying them from Christian Light Education. I will say that I am usually very frugal, but since I had heard that this was such a wonderful program, and since I also have a younger daughter who will use these products as well, I went ahead and bought them, and I thought they were all very reasonably priced. One of them is one of the items that you don't have to have are sorry, it's hard to know where I need to put these so you can see them. The addition and subtraction flashcards from Christian Light Education. In the back of the teacher's manual, there's a list of all the flashcards so that you could make your own flashcards. Or you could go and just buy regular flashcards from the store. But the Christian Light Education flashcards really simplify the program because on the back of each flashcard, it tells you what lesson you're going to use that flashcard, and it also has numbers, letters here that they use to tell you what, in what order to put the flashcards. And that comes in handy because there are different sections. These are the first grade sections for the flashcards. I can't show you exactly how it works because these are also used for second grade, and they're sorted differently in the second grade. And I didn't want to have to resort them because there are a lot of them. But for first grade, you're going to have a new facts section for your flashcards. You're going to have a once a day section for your flashcards, and you're going to have days of the week, Monday through Friday. So with the new facts cards, these are facts that you probably keep, I don't know, 6 or 7 of them at a time behind this divider. They're your newest cards that you're learning. So you're going to want to do these new facts as often as you can get your child to sit down and do them. We tried to do them before every meal. So before breakfast, lunch, or dinner, we'd sit down, or while we're waiting for something to cook, we'd sit down, do these real quick. But they helped reinforce the new math facts that the child learned. And then when you sat down to do the actual lesson, you would do the once a day cards. There would be some cards behind once a day. And then whatever day of the week it is, you go to that section, say it's Tuesday. you do all the flashcards that are behind Tuesday. And the book tells you what card to put behind what section. So as your child has learned certain facts, they only need to be doing them once a week. They only need to be refreshing on them once a week. So that's where the days of the week come in. It's just a really, really great system for helping your children learn those basic facts and get them just ingrained in their brain. And like I said, you use these in second grade as well. Another supplemental item is this counting book. You could use a spiral notebook to accomplish the same goal, but this was just a really cute little book. And you can see here in the table of contents that for each page you're going to write certain numbers. On page 1 you're going to write from 0 to 100. Next page you're going to write to 200. And here is an example. Well, first there's an activity or a game. This is color by number. My daughter doesn't like to color, so she never did that. But this is the counting part of the counting book. There's a box for each number, and it will tell you each day what to write in the counting book. It may say on a certain day, it may say, go to your counting book and write from 51 to 60. So by the end of the year, your child will have written to 1,000. And the fact that it's broken down each day to just where they're writing a few numbers is helpful. But my daughter got really excited. Hey, I'm writing to 1,000 because that just sounds like such a big number to them. And it's really good for them to learn. It's a good way to reinforce what they're learning in their light unit. But you could, like I said, you could use just a piece of paper or spiral notebook to do that. Then there's the counting chart. There's a counting chart from 1 to 200. It's laminated. So when they were learning to count by twos, it would say in the book, you could take a dry erase marker, this is laminated, and circle, count by twos to 20. Circle, counting by twos to 20. So they would circle 2, 4, 6, and so on, like that. There's also a ruler, an inch ruler on this side, and then a centimeter ruler on this side. So it was handy to not have to keep up with a ruler. They had just had it on the bottom of their counting chart. And then they're going to start learning to measure different things in their book. And so this was really handy to have. The last thing that I bought from Christian Light Education that was supplemental for math is the teaching clock. And I think what's different from some other teaching clocks with this is that as you turn this minute hand, it's going to also move the hour hand. And so that's really helpful when you're teaching time. But you don't have to have this. You can use a wall clock. You could print something out from Pinterest. They have clocks on Pinterest that you can print out to help your child learn time. But this is really very durable and small, so it was portable. We would take it with us when we needed to do lessons on the go. And other than that, the only thing that I used with Christian Light Education first grade math is a small Dollar Tree timer to use for the speed drills. At the end of every lesson, there's a speed drill. And you want to set that timer for 1 minute and see how many of the speed drill problems the child could get right. I don't have any of the light units left because I just kept my child's quizzes and tests and threw away the workbooks. So I don't have an actual workbook to show you, but in the teacher's manual, there are shrunken copies of each page of the child's light unit. And so at the back of each light unit, there are speed drills that go with each lesson. So you set the timer for a minute, and your child sees how many of these problems they can complete in a minute. And I've heard of some children that the timing makes them nervous to try to have to to have to try to get a certain amount done in a certain time. So, and my daughter kind of got that way for a while. So we didn't even time the speed drills. We just said, okay, let's see how many of these that you can get right. Go. And there was no time on it. But it was another good way, along with the flashcards, to reinforce the math facts that she was learning. So let me go over a lesson, what you would do each day in a lesson. And this is a lesson from Light Unit 103, which is the third lesson in the first grade program. You're going to have, at the beginning of each light unit, they're going to list what items you might need, materials needed for each workbook. And this covers, it tells you at the top that Light Unit 103 will cover lessons 41 through 60. And these are the items that you might want to have ready to teach these almost 20 lessons. The first thing it suggests is a teaching clock with movable hands. So you can either buy the one from Christian Light or print one off or just use your wall clock. Then it says here, and this is probably the strangest one that they had, a Venus flytrap, which is the plant, you know, that eats things. I'm not really familiar with them, but anyway, I think there's some word problems that have to do with the Venus flytrap. So it's kind of neat when you're teaching, especially children this young, to have visual things for them to see. I chose not to go buy a Venus flytrap for this. I just went and pulled up on my phone pictures and a video of a Venus flytrap and how it works, and showed that to my daughter instead of having the actual Venus flytrap. And the last thing they suggest is the counting book, which you can either buy from Christian Light Education or just use a spiral notebook. But that's handy to know. You can look at this a couple of days before you start a new light unit and know what you need to have gathered together to teach a lesson. It's going to tell you here what page in your child's light unit that they'll need to be on, that the lesson covers. And then it tells you the new skills and concepts that you're going to cover. It tells you right there what your child is going to learn for that day. Then it has class preparation. It tells you what you need to gather or what your child will need to have for the lesson. And it also tells you how to move the flashcards. Like, for instance, this says, for this lesson, you're going to move the flashcards 0 plus 6 equals 6, and the flashcard that says 6 plus 0 equals 6. You're going to move them from your unused facts section to your new facts section. And it tells you where to move the flashcards that have C on the back of them. It's going to tell you what section to move that. It tells you to move that to the Thursday section, and another set that you'll need to move. Usually, it has just to move 2 flashcards, the new concept that you're learning, or the new fact that you're learning for that day, to move that from the unused facts to the new facts. And so about once a week is when you'll have to do the moving whole sections. But it takes maybe a minute to get all that done. Very easy. And then this meet with students. This is where your lesson will start. It tells you one of the new concepts that they're going to learn. And anything that's new is going to be marked clearly new. And it's also going to have in bold print what exactly you need to say to your student. And that's very handy because I can understand a math concept, but sometimes I have a really hard time explaining that to somebody else, especially when they're so basic. For some reason, it seems almost harder if they're very basic. But Christian Light does a great job in telling you exactly what to say in clear language that your children can understand. And my daughter never had trouble grasping a concept in Christian Light Education first grade math. So you've got your new facts. They're going to write their new fact here. Then they're going to go over, they're going to probably, in the first page here, one of the first few things that you're going to do um, are probably something that you have done in the past week to help reinforce that new concept. Then they're going to have a story problem. What I love about Christian Light Education is every day there's a story problem. When I was my daughter's age, I remember dreading story problems because we didn't do them very often. I think we did a unit on story problems. We must have not spent very long on them because I had struggled terribly when we had story problems. We didn't do them every day. We would just do them every now and then. So it got to where I was just afraid of story problems because I couldn't figure out, when do I need to subtract, when do I need to add. But the fact that they do story problems every day with Christian Light Education, my daughter isn't intimidated by story problems like I was, and I think that's great because that's really how we use math in real life, is like you use story problems. So I think it's great that that Christian Light Education does such a great job with the story problems. Let's see what else. It tells you something that you can review. Something that you may have learned a few days ago was about the value and characteristics of a nickel. And so here it reminds you to review the value and characteristics of a nickel. You don't have to remember, ooh, do we need to go over this again? It's going to tell you every step of what you need to review, and then it'll have some problems to go over that. This is a spiral system. Christian Light Education is a spiral learning system, which means you are taught a concept, and then later on the next day you're going to revisit that concept. They may wait a couple days and you're going to revisit that concept again. It's not the mastery concept, which is kind of like, I think they call it kill and drill, where you may spend a whole day doing a certain concept until you know it and then not touch it again for a few weeks. So you may have time to forget that. So with the spiral, it stays fresh in the child's mind because they're going to keep revisiting that concept every few days. Let's see. Where was I? Okay. At the beginning of each, I should have gone over this first. There's this, it's called the title bar activity, and it reinforces, it's different for every day. But it's just kind of a fun little puzzle at the beginning of each lesson. So then here is the story problem, and then just some other activities, some other problems that go over some concepts that they've learned before. This is about congruent shapes, and draw a circle around the first shape. They're going to learn first, second, third, fourth, so on in first grade. Then here, this picture is a picture of an ear. I don't know if you can see that, but the child knows that they're going to need to listen to something that their teacher says, and they're going to have to write that number down. So it tells you in your teacher's manual that you need to say the number, you need to dictate the number 68, and your child needs to be able to think, okay, to write the number 68, I need to write 68. So that's where the teacher's manual comes in handy again. Also, you have the I can do this section right here. And this is the section that the child should be able to do independently without any help from you, because it's concepts that they have learned in the past. They do every few days, and so they should have pretty much mastered these concepts by now. This is just review for them. And my daughter wanted me to sit next to her for the I can do this, but I wouldn't help her with each one. I would sit there, but I would say, okay, do number 8 here. And so she would do all these by herself. I wouldn't sit there and say, okay, what's 5 minus 3? This is to help them learn to work independently. I believe by the end of 3rd grade, they're supposed to be able to do their lessons in Christian Light Education, for the most part, independently. The directions are written to them. Their the reading is to the level that they can understand. So this starts them off in first grade, uh, doing independent work, which is great. There's also this section here uh, that's got a picture, I don't know if you can see it, of a cup. And what that is there's a, you need to take a cup, find a, I think we used an old yogurt cup that we cleaned out. And it will tell you at the beginning of the lesson to put a certain amount of money in the money cup. And so it may say put 5 dimes in the money cup. So when the child sees the picture of the money cup here on the I Can Do This, they need to go to the money cup and count the money that's in the money cup and write down that amount. So that just helps reinforce learning to count money, kind of in a fun way. My daughter really enjoyed that. Then there were, I believe, 2 quizzes per light unit, and then a test at the end of each light unit. So I think that's everything. I'm sorry this is so long. It's just a wonderful program. And one thing that I think makes it so wonderful is that there are so many different components to each lesson. Kind of keeps it from being boring where you're just doing the same kind of problems over and over and over again. Seems to be a lot of variety. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to type below and I'll see if I can answer them. Thanks.